Welcome to Home Means, where the heart of Nevada comes alive. I'm your host, Heather Brown, and this is a place where we uncover the real stories behind the people who make our state extraordinary. From unforgettable adventures to everyday moments that shape us, this podcast is all about the voices, the faces, and the experiences that make Nevada truly unique. Let's dive in and get to the heart of what home means. Welcome to another episode of Home Means. Today I'm excited to have Diana Bennett here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather.
Yeah, thank you for giving us your time. I always, I think the first time I heard you speak was at a UNLV Foundation meeting when you were the chair. And I just was like, wow, I want to know everything. I want to learn, and I just really appreciated getting to know you.
Oh, thank you. But the funny thing is, I feel the same about you. You're my one regent I love more than anybody. And yeah, so that's why I'm here, because I respect you. You're always at UNLV events. I'm so proud of you.
I mean, like and I genuinely do try and go to all of them. But at the end of the day, UNLV is the largest institution. It has a growth trajectory, and it is the lifeblood of Southern Nevada, which is the economic lifeblood of the state.
Agreed.
And I have to make sure that that institution is as healthy and vibrant and, forward thinking as possible. And anything I can do to make that happen, I'm there for it. So
Well, the university needs you, so that's good.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I want to talk about just Nevada in general. What makes Nevada feel like home to you? Do you think it's the people, the places, or do you think maybe it's moments along the way that have really grounded you here?
No, I think I've felt like Nevada was my home almost from when I moved here. Um, Of course, I, at a very young age, fell in love with gaming. Um, but, we're now a very large city that still feels very small. And people say that, like, I don't understand what you mean. Then you go someplace and you're like, oh no, I know him and her. And for the most part, we are just a very giving state. And I know statistics don't necessarily um, support that theory, but people care a lot. And we do try very hard to take care of people that are in need. And of course, my family's here, been here. So my roots, even though I was born in Arizona, are all here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think there's a spirit of giving, even if it's not always in dollar amounts. But I have a pretty, I think it's my theory, but I think it's pretty based in, everybody is from someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if they have found community here and consider this to be home, I think a lot of people still look back and they give back to whatever alma mater they were in, or, wherever their parents are from, wherever their hometown, their elementary school. They have these roots that aren't Nevada based, even though they think this is a wonderful community and they want to be fully engaged. I mean, and maybe I'm just speaking from the tech entrepreneurial side,
Mm-hmm.
because I do see that a lot of people give back to their home communities, even though they're growing their company here.
Right. And I see that too. I think, interestingly enough, the sports teams are pulling people back in. I mean, certainly nobody thought the Golden Knights were just going to be this amazing hockey team, right? My son, who plays hockey, lives hockey, said, "Don't get excited about them, Mom. They're really not going to do much." And they won that year. Um, and I think we're going to see that even more. The Raiders are having a bit of a hard time getting there, but we are now supporting whether they're winners or losers, which Nevada used to be. It had to be Tarkanian and going for the Final Four for us to get excited. I see it much more in them supporting UNLV and the athletics, especially women's athletics that have come. The Aces and our team at UNLV. So um, we are getting more and more ingrained in Nevada being the place you want to take care of the most. And so, yes, some people go back and support their teams, which I appreciate, but they're usually giving here too.
Yeah. And I mean, we do love the Aces. We love the Lady Rebels. I love that women's sports is really becoming a prevalent staple. I mean, can never forget that the Aces were our first sports team to get a championship. So never forget that. Three now, 3 and 4 years. We're
And
so
they give
proud of them.
back to the
Yeah.
community. They're so available. And you would think they're like, "No, wait a minute, we've been champions 3 times in a row." No, they give back. Yeah, they spend their time with us, which is wonderful.
And I'm excited because I know, I mean, I spoke at a middle school the other day, and at least 90% of the class was born here in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
And I was like, yes, you know? Also growing up here, I never saw anybody in power, in air quotes, in power, from Las Vegas, from Nevada,
Oh, yeah.
right? And it's cool to see someone like Sandra Douglas Morgan, who was born and raised here, like leading a NFL team, but like in leadership. And it's just, and I'm excited about that. That's not to say that we don't want all these people to come here and make homes. Obviously, but it's just cool that we are now seeing the growth trajectory with people having families here, having kids. They're going to grow up here, and then they're going to be, leaders in our community. And I think it's cool that, everybody says that Las Vegas is like 50 years behind in some ways, but like 30 years in the future in other ways.
Mhm.
And I think, we're very innovative at our core, but we're just catching up with the people, having kids here and generational. Yeah.
Well, and you think way back in the beginning, nobody, the gangsters, all those people that were around, none of those were from here. You know, they came from New York or Cleveland or all those places. And even when you look at Vinnie Binion and Steve Wynn, and my dad, those people that really took us to the next level, none of them were from here either. If you look at our leaders now, like, oh no, he was born and raised, he went to school here. So we have taken over when we used to have to bring in people. We have those people now.
Yeah, a big theme that comes up on the podcast is this. We want good people who have good ideas, and you'll be embraced and you'll be celebrated. And I think, you just listed, including your father, people who had great ideas, came here, invested, and we got excited, and they changed the trajectory of our state. And now we're seeing, local people looking at these models and doing it all over again. And
Mhm.
it's just really exciting that we're reinventing ourselves, but in new ways.
We have to reinvent ourselves. If you go back, I take it back to when my father started a place that you could have children, and then we got great chefs, and then we got great DJs. Um, this town follows. I think, a follow the leader thing, and so the first person that has that great idea usually does pretty well, and the second because they're trying harder. But you go further down the road, it's like, no, it's not working for you. It's not working. And so we wait for another great idea to come along. And we're in that stage now where we're seeing so many of our older properties that um, need to be redone. And that's been so much of our history is that we don't have a lot of history because we tear it down but we make something great and new come out of it. Um, we're never going to be Boston or New York or Washington, D.C., where you're overwhelmed when you go at the history. But we have our own unique. You go to the Golden Gate right now, and they have the first telephone that was ever in Las Vegas whose number was one. You just dialed the one and you got them, and it's hanging on the wall. And it is so cool. We're keeping history where we can.
Yeah. Oh, that is cool. I'll go down and check that
Yeah.
out.
Eric Stevens. I love him.
Well, I was just at Circa,
Mhm.
and they have the old Riviera statue,
Yes.
which I'm like, and obviously we've got Vegas Vicky,
Mhm.
and so I love that we are preserving our history, like you said, in our way.
Yes.
Well, hey, look, if we're gonna tear down a building, we're gonna make a spectacle of it.
Well, it'll
You,
make the news.
yeah, you might just take it down piece by piece. We're gonna blow it up. We're
Mhm.
gonna implode it because we're gonna make it a fun night. We're gonna get tickets. People are gonna be out there until 3 a.m. It's the whole thing. We do everything the Vegas way.
We did. We did.
But kind of along that spirit, people come here for opportunity, and we are a city that reinvents itself constantly. Um, how has that spirit of innovation led for people wanting to put roots down here? Do we think that we pick just the right people that stay?
Um, I think the right people that stay, many of those even try to go someplace else and they come back because there is something that ties them here. Um, and I think that. when we're looking at innovation, gaming never used to be top of the innovation. You could do player tracking at a grocery store, but not in a casino. We were not up on all the technology. Now with Switch and Blackfire and all these amazing companies, we are really picking up in that area. And if we, for example, ever get a film studio, we're bringing in those that are going to have really great jobs for our young people. Whether they graduate from the university or where they go a 2-year degree at the college, um, there's going to be some very, very good jobs coming up for our young people that don't have to work in a hotel. We do have more industries than the hotel and mining. Um, and the more that we're bringing these to, the more we realize we have to upgrade healthcare and we have to upgrade our school systems. And bringing new blood in, I think, brings us a really good chance at that.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely changing that school of thought in a lot of ways. I mean, I worked in economic development for a few years, and the idea of, well, we need more hospitals. Well, we also need, more GMEs. We also need, investment in the medical school. We also need, da 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 da. Da. And it's like, well, then, well, then, and I'm not. This isn't a criticism. I actually had conversations with people who said we had this exact same conversation in the '90s, and we said, "Oh, it'll take 20 years." And now it's been 30 years and we still need it, and now it's gonna take another 20, if not 30 years.
Yeah.
So always challenge people that if you do see something that we know we need, we identify things that we need to get the smartest people in the room, the actual subject matter experts, and get everybody on board, and we need to just start building today. We can't say, "Oh, it's difficult. We gotta wait a little bit longer," because 20 years turns into 40 years, which turns into 60 years.
Yeah, I started working on a freestanding children's hospital in the 80s, where there was a bond that was going to end, and we wanted to renew it for money to go to build the children's hospital, and never got off the ground. So been working a long time on that one.
Well, now we've got Intermountain
Yes, we
that
do.
has, made that announcement, partnered with the UNLV, research park, and it'll be a good addition for our
It will
community.
be very good, but it's a ways off, so we have to keep taking care of the medical facilities that we have now and make sure that we support those, because one, it's gonna be a small hospital, very needed, but the rest of the community is very seldom going to see, hopefully, that children's hospital, because it's going to be for those that are really truly the says that don't any longer have to go out of state. So
That'll be huge I mean, this is just for the what ifs, right? Like, you just wanna know that you can do it here and you don't have to go to, Los Angeles or get on an airplane, and that's I think that'll just bring peace and comfort to people who are considering Vegas as an option.
well, and it's true. My daughter from the age of 10 to 15 had a brain tumor that we didn't get diagnosed, and I had to take her everywhere out of state, to finally get it diagnosed and surgery, so I know how terrible that feels for a parent.
Wow. Yeah, and, I mean, eh, we also wanna be a world-class everything, and that doesn't happen unless the parents feel, like their kids will be taken care of if
Right,
anything
not
happens.
just those people coming in with a bunch of money.
Yeah. Um, kind of on this human connection piece, I wanna talk about the Paragon's circle of service
Mhm.
philosophy. I think it's really interesting, and I'm curious if what how did you come up with this? How did it come about?
Well, I think part of it is I'm old school, and used to very much dealing with, employees and guests on a very one-to-one basis. My father, he could walk through Circus and say hello to every single employee and know their names and ask how their dogs are. So that was instilled in me in a very young age. So we wanted to make sure that one, our team members felt empowered enough to get something done because you see so many times a guest comes up to somebody and asks them a question and they're like, I don't know, that's not my. We want them to take that person and make sure they're taken care of and follow through on it. So, yes, we introduce ourselves, we ask how we can help them, and we make sure that we get them to the right person or complete their task, whatever it might be. And then that customer walks out going, that was really a good experience. I couldn't find this. It wasn't really accepted right in the beginning. Um, as people are like, "I'm busy, I'm doing my job." And we're like, "No, part of your job is those customers that come in." And of course, we made, I think, security guards feel like I'm nothing but a tour guide through the place. But they got into it too, and then they realized they were becoming friends with the guests that came in on a repeated basis. And it's just common sense. Sometimes people don't use common sense. So if common sense tells you, I need to take care of this person, I need to be there, and then all of a sudden they feel better about themselves as well. So it was a very, very worthwhile and for the right way to go. But it's common sense.
Well, and I'll tell you from just a consumer, myself, sometimes I'll go to things and like I said, I could read the signs. I have pretty good navigational skills. My friends call me the Magellan of the group, right? Like if I've been there once, I'll find it again. But every now and again, you just get turned around or something's new and it sometimes I'm like, "Oh, this is a very basic question. I know anybody who's ever stepped foot in this, casino store, mall, whatever I'm at will know." And then if you ask and they're like, "Nah, I don't know." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
it actually does defeat you as somebody who's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to spend money here. I'm sorry. Maybe I was like, maybe I'm the rude one. Maybe I, shouldn't have asked that person." And
Yeah.
but it to your point, it seems like common sense that like these are our customers. We want to make sure that they feel like this is a good experience from the time they step foot to the time they eat to the time they experience whatever they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Gamble.
And when I first went to work at Excalibur, they had a player tracking system, but they didn't, they didn't track anybody that didn't play dollar machines and up. But do you know how much money people spend in quarters or yeah, it's like, "How can you mean you don't track anybody? We need to track everybody." Yeah, and they hadn't even thought of that. It's pretty simple thinking.
I'll never forget. So I grew up here, but then my dad was military, so we zigzagged around the country and then ended up living overseas. But every summer I'd spend here in Vegas, and my grandpa was a baccarat dealer at Caesars, and we'd go and visit him. We'd go to different casinos, and I will never forget those cups.
Yeah.
I don't know what my mom. I don't know why she allowed us to collect the cups. I mean, first of all, what was I doing on the casino floor?
Or what
I was 8. But also, what were we gonna do with a stack of cups?
cups, yeah.
And but I thought they were the coolest things, and for those of people who don't know what I'm talking about, the machines obviously used to give actual quarters. To have the quarters, they'd have these cups stacked on the corners of all the 4 or the 3 of the 4 tops, and of the slot machines, and then you'd scoop your quarters up, put them underneath, and as a kid, they were souvenir cups.
Yes, they were souvenir, and they got black in the side just like our hands would get black from those pen money.
Again, I don't know if I thought I was gonna drink out of it, which is arguably
Oh,
disgusting.
yeah.
I don't think I ever did. I think I just literally collected them. At the end of the summer, my mom was like, "You're not taking those to Georgia, Florida," wherever we were living at the time, and I was like so I'd keep them at my
Yeah,
grandparents' house.
remember.
They'd obviously throw them away, but it was just a cool, like
My boys used them for marbles.
yeah. Oh, Pogs, actually, I used to keep my
Yeah,
Pogs there, yeah.
yeah.
Good old days. But, these are just fun memories that I have as a kid. I mean, I remember Excalibur. My mom would take us to the, um,
Jack.
arcades
Oh,
and,
man.
yes, that too, but, the arcades, and it was just, like, super fun, and
I'm gonna take my six-year-old grandson who lives in Vancouver to the jousting tournament when they come back in spring, and he's so excited about it.
I haven't been in years. I would
Me neither.
yeah, we need a turkey leg. It's not just for Renaissance fairs or Disney.
Forgot the turkey legs.
Um, so do you think that you have a moment in your career when a decision felt more, um, appropriate to help the people involved versus profits? And how did you actually, come to that conclusion, and how has that kind of shaped your leadership?
Well, interestingly, my dad was very philanthropic, but behind the scenes. He didn't ever want anybody to know he gave any money. Um, I think we've told that great story of him being charged $5,000 for some people from UNLV to come do a marketing class, and he called up Carol Harder and was yelling at her, and she said, "I'm really sorry, we'll take that back." And he said, "I understand you're gonna build a children's, center." She said, "Yes." He goes, "How's that? How much is that gonna cost?" She said, $5 million. He said, "Fine, I'll send you the check." And she said, "Mr. Bennett, this just cost you $4,995,000." And he said, "Yes, but it was my decision, not yours." So that's how he was a giver. But I think I sat on the UMC board for quite a while. Um, and then the next time I really got involved was with Three Square. And it touched my heart the moment I was there, and especially the children's backpack. And I think that transitioned me into, I'm gonna give as much as I can philanthropically as I do business. It's just that important to the community.
Well, and Three Square is such a needed resource, and so, I just recently, went through Leadership Las Vegas, it was about 2 years ago, and I got introduced to so many of these organizations, and in my mind, I was like, we are just so lucky that we have not just people that support these causes, but the fact that these causes exist.
Yeah.
And like it also made me sad because like how sad that we actually need these. I helped serving our kids pack the
Mhm.
lunch bags for the weekends. And I had talked to the executive director and I was like, I'm gonna bring gushers because I think that's such a cute like I know it's sugar, but, like, it's a fun weekend thing, and she's like, "Actually, I really don't want you to."
No.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "It's consistency, and we have to be consistent because these kids depend on it." And if they and I was like, "Wow." Like, in my mind, I was like, "What a cute, fun thing that we're doing." And she's like, "No, this is a necessity.
Yeah.
These kids will not eat if we do not." And it really it I've actually told that story quite a few times because it stuck
Mhm.
with me. It stood with me because I just didn't I was a reduced lunch kid, right? And that was embarrassing to have to go on a separate line and things like that, but we never went without food, and it really changed my whole idea of, like, what philanthropy looked like
Mhm.
because it's not just I run a nonprofit that helps startup founders find community, which is important because they're creating jobs and stuff like that, but these people are gonna eat at the end of every day.
Mhm.
And it really made me wanna give back in like you said, and just make sure I find these causes. Communities and schools is another one that I just find to be
Right.
just incredible, and, I really do think that my heart sits in the education and youth space, and I'm gonna find where I kinda fit in that.
Yeah. I one time went to Harley Harmon Elementary School, which is part of the backpack program and probably 90% reduced and feel free meal programs for their kids. So very needy. And I was talking to one little girl who got the backpack every weekend. So I said, "Tell me what you like about the food in the backpack when you don't." She said, "Well, they they give us chocolate milk and white milk." And she said, "My brother loves the chocolate milk, so I give that to him." She said, "I want the white milk for the cereal because that's the only time we get cereal because mom says it's too expensive. So I use the white milk for my cereal." And she said, "And sometimes there's applesauce or canned fruit, and my grandma doesn't have all her teeth. So the applesauce or the fruit she can really eat." And she said, "And sometimes they give us beef stew." She said, "We don't really like the beef stew, but we don't always have dog food, so I give the beef stew to my dogs." Here I am thinking this is a package of food that gives her all the FDA nutrients she needs for a weekend, and she's so proud of herself for taking care of her family from that little backpack. It just makes you realize how important that program is.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, and good what a beautiful soul too to be so generous with what little she has.
Mhm.
Oh, I just wanna give that little girl a hug.
I know. And then my assistant was with me, Sandy, who hasn't had kids and kind of a, sharp, tough. She was in the corner bawling. I mean, just crying.
Oh, well, I mean, again, it kind of goes back to I'm so grateful for all the nonprofits. I'm so grateful for the people who support the nonprofits. And, the fact that we have a community, it's like the underbelly of the community that's really going to make sure that no kid goes hungry, that people are given opportunities and exposure to things. And We're definitely going to talk about that a little bit with you, because look, you mentioned Three Square, UNLV, the Bennett Family Foundation. These are all ways that you have been very invested in this community. But can you maybe define what giving back means? It might look different for you than someone else, but how can somebody give back and show up and be authentic?
Well, one, I tell people that always are like, I don't have a lot of money to give, and I am show up. None of these organizations exist without volunteers. Free Squares being a prime example of that. Um, but I, I tell people, find where your heart leads you. Find out that which is the most important to you, because then you'll genuinely gonna care what happens, whether it's a family member that was ill or somebody that didn't get through school, whatever those might be. And then I don't just write a check. I'm there. If I'm gonna sit on a board, I'm gonna be the most active person on that board that I can be, because I need all of that. I need to know that I'm giving more than just a check. And so it's really important for me to be an integral part. My kids are like, "Mom, you're gonna retire here soon?" And I'm like, "I would like to retire from work. I will never retire from philanthropy and my family." That's always where my heart is.
Yeah, I mean, it, somebody said it about you have to pay your social currency, your community rent.
Oh,
Um,
hadn't heard that one.
yeah, so it's being part of a community like this, you have a community rent and you have which is giving back, which is helping making improvements in whatever way you can, but figuring it out, not just being a passive citizen that, drives on the roads and sends your kids to school and participates in very minimal social interaction. It's how can I improve whatever my surroundings are?
And we're instilling that younger and younger. So many of our schools now have a volunteer program that you have to give X amount of hours to a semester. And I think that's great, instilling that sense of giving.
I mean, and it also just in addition to just being the right thing, it genuinely changes your chemistry,
Oh, yeah.
and it makes you feel like you're helping something bigger than yourself, and that's going to help build self-esteem, which helps build, exposure, which helps, with future I think kids think they know what they want, they see some stuff online, but once you start getting into the actual, helping people and seeing, I think that touches on empathy,
Mhm.
and I'm really hoping that we don't lose that piece of community. Yeah, and the volunteer stuff, I think the school's leading with that.
My granddaughter was, I think, 6 when I started taking her out at Christmas time where we were taking toys and furniture and stuff to people's houses. And my older grandson, he hadn't gotten involved in it. So I took him one time and we went to a home that was for older teenage boys that would most likely never be adopted. And the guy that took us said, these boys may not seem like they're very gracious or grateful for what you're doing for them, but this is a hard thing for them living in a house that they know they'll be basically kicked out at 18. And he goes, but they want it, they need it, but you may not see it. So I think Jake was like 13, and we went in there, and he saw we got a pair of like Nike tennis shoes for a boy, but he was like, "That's not the color I wanted." So like, okay, well, we can go exchange the colors. We came out, and he goes, "They weren't grateful," and I said, "No, they are," and he said, "They're never gonna be adopted." And I said, "No, honey," I said, "not too many people want to adopt a, 15-year-old boy." And he goes, "We should do more for them." And I'm like, "Yes, we should." So you instill that at a young age, and they always feel it.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure that wasn't one easy for that 15-year-old, and
No.
yeah, and
Or
he's gonna show up the only way he knows how, which is to be, tough and yeah, yeah, but, oh, don't no, I wanna go adopt a 15-year-old. I kinda wanna talk about your early days. So you started on the casino floor, and you worked your way up in an industry that has been long dominated by men. But I am curious how those early experiences shaped, your sense of responsibility for the people around you and the people who visited the property?
Well, I started, 19 in marketing department, and, it was not pretty. It was dealers women were just being allowed to deal, and you certainly didn't see any women in the C-suites, you saw them all as the assistants, um, but for some reason, I loved the business. I didn't necessarily at the time love everything I had to do, but I realized that if I was smarter than the men that were giving me problems, I could get around it. Could succeed. We had to put out menus for events, and I had a chef that wouldn't take the menu when he said, "If you don't give me a kiss, I won't get the food for you on the thing." So instead of giving him a kiss, I went back and I had the forms that we had, like triple where you could sign on one and they're signed all the way through. And I took that around to all the executives and made them sign it. And they went to the chef and he goes, "Well, what if I don't sign it?" I said, "Well, it'll show up very clearly that everybody else signed and you didn't. So it's got to be a problem." He's like, I'm not signing this." We went to the general manager and the general manager said, "That's the smartest thing I've ever heard of." It's like, so that was kind of what I did was think of how I could do the best job, and, still keep my sense of self, and it wasn't easy, but I like the people, I like the people that some of the people that I worked with, but I love the people that I dealt with,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to keep going in the business. I did take time out to get married and have my daughter, then went back to work again and got married again, but in all of those instances, it was kind of like, you should stay home now. Take care of the kids, you stay home." And I love my children dearly, but that wasn't who I was, I knew I had to work and be fulfilled and still do the best job I could for my kids. Um, and that's also worked as I've gotten different jobs. I remember when I became president of CDS, which manufactured slot machines. I had worked with slot machines, I knew all this, but I never knew manufacturing. And I always get this sense that the imposter syndrome, this is where they're going to find out I don't know squat about what I'm doing. And I was 2 days in my office at CDS when I went, "Oh my God, they really need me here. We're having meetings for hours and nothing gets accomplished." So I have gotten past that fear every single time and tried to rise to the occasion. And I'm still doing it at 76.
I'll be honest, I've dealt with my own imposter syndrome, and then I sit in a room or I sit on a board or I sit on a dais and I'm like, why did I ever feel like I didn't belong here?
Yeah.
And so I try and talk to as many young women as possible and just tell them imposter syndrome isn't real. Imposter syndrome is the thing that they want you to feel because they don't want you to come for their job.
Hmm.
And whether that's great advice or not, that's how I live my life. And it has helped me so much to just, I'm not rude about it, but I'm also not afraid to ask. And I'm not afraid if there's not a seat, I'm not afraid to pull a chair up to the table because I think I belong there just as much as anybody.
Absolutely. And I tell a lot of young women when I speak to them, um, about this being a superwoman, that you can be the best mother in the world, the best executive in the world, you can do all these things. And it puts so much pressure on young women. And I tell them, no, when you're at work, you're going to miss your kids at home. When you're at home, you're going to miss what you do at work. I said, so it's very important for you to realize that you need a balanced life to give them a balanced life. You can't be all things to everybody. I always used to say I needed a wife, but that I didn't have one. But it is important to be generous with yourself and to appreciate what you do. My three kids grew up just fine. They're great, outstanding, wonderful people. But they will tell you, "Oh, mom was working and we would take two pieces of bread and a piece of American cheese and put it in a napkin and microwave it, and that was a grilled cheese sandwich." Like, well, I did cook, right? And too.
Okay, drama
Yeah,
queens.
that's exactly.
That's funny. But I'm also glad that you decided to have that, career and family, and you didn't let people say, well, it's time for you to stay at home because,
Hmm.
like, That's such nobody would ever say that to a man,
No, no.
and it really is it it's wild to me that we're still kind of living in that mentality.
Mm,
It's like, "You stay home."
yeah.
What
Well, and I also tell women, I said, "You really should be sorry for your husband." I said, "Because no one's telling him he needs a balanced life. So he puts everything he has into work, golf on Saturday when the kids probably have a baseball game or a soccer game." And I said, and then at some point where he's able to breathe and he wants to do things with the kids, they don't really care anymore. So you missed all of those really important years. So I said, I usually feel sorry for the men.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you're not there and you don't choose to be there, and again, if nobody's telling you that you're doing the wrong thing,
Yeah.
you might not be self-aware and
Yeah. And you've probably got a boss at work that goes, "What do you mean you need to go talk to your wife? You make a decision now. You know, talk to your wife." My dad did that. Didn't hire a guy because he said, "Well, can I talk it over with my wife?" My dad said, "No, never mind."
uh, amazing. So, we are gonna turn into a rapid fire,
Okay.
and, just before we leave,
Okay.
what is your favorite local restaurant?
Anything sushi, just doesn't matter.
What's a must-visit spot for newcomers?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in Vegas that I think they need to see that there's something outside of the strip. I would say go to Mount Charleston or go to Lake Mead,
Mhm.
the dam.
What's the best outdoor activity?
Pickleball right now.
What's a hidden gem in Southern Nevada?
Oh, now that one I was thinking about. Um, I don't know that I have one. Go to the next one. I don't like that one.
What's a go-to coffee shop?
Oh, Mother Earth by Dignity Sienna. I I went there and I was meeting with a gentleman and I spilled my drink all over him. It was green and they're rushing out to clean up this mess and they were so great and moved us to another table and then they brought me a sippy cup with my coffee.
So it's coffee and a sense of humor.
Yes.
What's your favorite place to unwind?
Um, my backyard.
What's the best view in the city?
Oh, my backyard.
What's your favorite thing to do on a weekend?
I have hobbies. They're with my family, but I read, I crochet, I paint, um, all of those things that because many of those are kind of mindless activities, and it takes your thoughts away from work, and you're just concentrating on something, and you just kind of feel you relax more and more.
Love that. What's one must-have experience for visitors?
I think people should go to the Sphere. I just think it's kind of a magical place, and you can see it from everywhere, so you need to see the inside.
Yeah. And finally, what's the most underrated perk of living in Nevada?
The weather. I mean, we're the best weather in the world if you think about it. We have probably 8 months of really great weather. We have to survive July, August, a little September. But we don't have hurricanes, we don't have tornadoes, we don't have floods, we don't have 10 feet of snow. You can go out and, yeah, you may be going from your car to an air-conditioned room, but you can be out, you can be in a patio. We don't have terrible weather, and the heat is not the worst part someone could have.
I totally agree. I mean, I don't have my pea coats anymore for a reason. I mean, it's the beginning of January right now, but
Yeah,
this whole winter,
we had, what, a week?
a week.
A week
Yeah.
of bad weather.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
Air quotes bad.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
was, yeah.
some
Had to wear a coat.
in Vancouver, they have had, like, 45 days of rain and wind and cold. Yeah, yeah, you don't have that.
Yeah, I see some people with their like social media and they've got piles of snow behind them and I was like, "Ooh, girl, we
Yeah,
are not the
we
same."
were not the same.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time and thank you for sharing some insight and I just adore you and appreciate everything you do for Nevada and thank you for taking some time to be on the Home Means podcast.
Well, I appreciate being asked very much, and, I think we both very much think about Nevada the same. It is home.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and being a part of the Home Means community. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and check out our Nevada-inspired merch at homemeanspodcast.com. We'll be back soon with another story about the people who make Nevada feel like home. In the meantime, thank you for being part of the Home Means community.